morning, and thank you for joining us. This is Sunrise, and I am Alero Edu.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome. Clearly, the sun has risen on Rivers State, as in every other part of the world, and the feedback coming in, the news that's been coming in, is certainly something of concern, isn't it?
Very much so, my dear. I am still trying to fathom exactly what is going on, because protests saying we must have elections, protests saying we were not going to have elections. I mean, all that was going on up till yesterday. So I am completely lost.
Well, one thing that's not lost on us is that the elections are ongoing right now.
Hip, hip, hip. Hooray.
So at least that's the information that's been coming from our correspondents all over the place. The concern, of course, one other concern would be, okay, security. We are here that police say, well, no, we're not going to be a part of it because of this reason, because of that reason. And then we hear, okay, the police is on somewhere around, well, you say we shouldn't participate in election, no problem, but we will still maintain internal security.
True.
In the country, so that's
which is their major job,
which is their primary, function. So all of the things that are happening, if you don't live in River State, you really sometimes have to lost as to what's happening.
Well, we will be hearing from them in River State as
Absolutely.
This program goes on. So we'll be getting on the spot report,
Absolutely,
blow by blow, as it is hot. It's getting to Lagos. It's getting to you at home.
Yeah.
So, of course, actually, we're going to start with our eyes firmly on River State this morning, the local government polls.
And that's the first thing. But then one other concern that's also very, very important for us is ensuring that there is peace in the state. How do we ensure that during and after these polls, peace remains in Rivers? That's another thing that we'll be talking about.
Rivers has been in the news for far too long. Well, after that, we'll be looking at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They have their October conference coming up, so we'll be chatting with them to get more details about that. And
in all of the things that are happening all over the place, God, how do we maintain mental composure? That's a thing now. Maintaining composure. This time around, maintaining mental composure. We'll be talking about that later on today. In the meantime, you want to do yourself a favor? Grab yourself a cup of cocoa.
Oh, cocoa.
In the middle of everything that is happening, okay? And we'll be right back to get the show. We'll defend our land. This time around, when on election days, one of the things we talk about is defending our votes and how we do that safely, securely, peacefully, and credibly. Those are the issues. Because in the build-up to this election, there's been tension and uncertainty in Rivers State over the conduct of the local government elections. That's already ongoing. Well, Governor Fubara, of course, is insisting that the election slated for today must hold. You remember he declared public holidays on Thursday and yesterday. Opposition secured a court order restraining INEC from releasing voter registers to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, which culminated in the alleged invasion of the state electoral body by the police in the wee hours of yesterday, and allegedly in an attempt to cart materials for the election. Of course, we know what happened. That governor, we also understand, was there. Yesterday, the state command of the Nigeria police, led by Olatunji Disu, declared that they were withdrawing from the elections. But the election is ongoing. You've been watching what's going on. You've been listening to us and seeing all of the issues that have been raised in Rivers State. And the election is ongoing. and everybody seems to be doing what they are supposed to do. Let's have conversations this morning on all of this build-up. What kind of reactions are we going to get from the people? What kind of voter turnout are we going to get? How secure is it going to be? How credible is it going to be? What exactly are the issues on the burner here this morning? Can you imagine? Alera was asking me, what are the issues? Well, we'll find out from three people who will be joining us this morning. NLB is former country director of Action Aid Nigeria. She's also chairman, advisory committee of the Nigerian Endowments Through Asset Transformation NEAT initiative. And right beside her is Ifeanyi Ugwokwe, who is a governance and development expert. Thank you for joining us this morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, madam, let me begin with you. Having monitored so many elections and all of these, in all of these conversations, all of this hula baloo, shall we say, all of this furore, all of these issues that are being raised, which one stands out the most for you?
I think I'm looking at the judiciary, for what it has become, which is really pathetic, and again, looking at the power tussle, looking at how we are messing up with the lives of people, because local government election is one of the most important elections. That is where, at the local government, is where you have the local governance that is closest to the people. And that is where you can touch lives of people directly. And so it's something that we should not joke with. And I think the democracy that we have, unless we're able to harness the kind of governance at the local level, we're able to take root, a firm foundation of governance at those levels, we are not going to have the benefits of, the democratic dividends to the people. And so what is standing out for me is the way that the court is taking us upside down or up and down. The power tussle between the former governor and the current governor. Are they really looking at the people? The fact that the people become even more vulnerable, and now the unconstitutionality, that we are now suffering in terms of, somebody or a court somewhere sitting somewhere and saying, the police should not protect the people, they should not go with the elections. How can you be more unconstitutional when you are challenging the constitution of Nigeria? Which one should take precedent? Is it the court judgment or the court something? And the way we're really using the courts, is ridiculing the judiciary of this country. When you are sad in a place, you can go from, you can be in Anambra and you can take a judgment from Taraba, because you want to think that you can use it. I think we need to rethink ourselves. Nigeria is 64, in terms of independence, not the creation of Nigeria, but democracy is about 25 years. If you have a 25-year-old child, by now the child should be getting married, or maybe have been married or something, or preparing for marriage. Maturity is not showing. It's, as if we're still children, the way they are tossing us around. And so for me, I'm happy that the River State people are defiling, all of that. Not defiling, really, they are obeying, they're carrying out their constitutional, environment. And if anything happens to anybody today, because the security is being withdrawn, we are having even some of the citizens of River State counteracting, really countering the words of the governor and saying you should not go. We are even having the parties being divided among themselves because the individuals can be used. We have the issues of, I see unity. I was watching the thing through yesterday and through the night to see what is happening, and it's very pathetic. Local governance is the basis for governance in terms of bringing accountability or transparency or even the dividends of the democracy to the people. Why are we against ourselves? I think it is important, yeah.
Madam, thank you very much. We'll come back to you, but for now, let's just nip over to Rivers State and hear from our correspondent, Charles Oporum. Let's get a feel of what is going on at the moment. Hello, Charles.
Good morning. So, yes, I'm here at the All Progressives Congress Secretariat of the Caretaker Committee along Aba Road, where there was an explosion this morning as I gather. If you look behind me, you'll see scorch marks at the, what's that now? The billboard directly behind me. There are scorch marks. So absolutely, I understand from who is the chairman of the caretaker committee here, that the explosion happened at about 3 a.m. today. But I think we should just cross over to him so we hear directly from him. He's in charge here. So good morning, Mr. Okocha. So in a minute, we could summarize what actually transpired here quickly.
Okay, this morning, at the wee hours of this morning, we've got signals, we've got the reports from the security man working here that some gun-trotting young men came here in a black Venus. And he was not, but that is where he lived. So they dropped the explosive. You can see the weight of that explosive. And so the issue and the question we have kept asking is APC secretariat really business?
So basically that explosion happened by 3 a.m. today?
By 3:20 a.m.
3:20 a.m. today?
Yes.
Okay, so you've heard that. That's directly from the horse's mouth. So that's the situation here within the APC secretariat.
Well, I hope there was no loss of lives or anything. What could have been, if it is possible to take that question to Mr. Okocha, what could have been the motive? Or who is this suspect? What could have been the motive? Who's behind this explosion? What is it at the APC secretariat, that's so important? I'm just wondering.
Okay, now, when a witch cries in the night and the child dies in the morning, anybody else can be able to decipher who the culprit or who is the person that did this kind of thing on our party. Now, I have said that APC secretariat is not a polling unit. There's no polling unit here. None. Yesterday we had a press conference here and the people were all covered. I mean, you all covered the event. And they saw the serenity of the environment. So only for us to wake up this morning to see that our offices, our secretariat has been thrown, into this kind of mess. People are donating devices and gunshots. I've just showed your cameraman, I'm sure he would have been swinged to it. Even the buildings, the surrounding buildings around our neighborhood are also attacked. You see holes of AK-47 guns. AK-47 guns, which they came with. And they came twice. The second other time it was 4 a.m. They came to set the place ablaze. The entire security house is gone. The part of our...
So quickly, what has the police said to you? What has the police said?
I want to make the entry at the police station. The DPO came here himself to ascertain for himself, the level and extent of devastation here.
Okay.
So we have also made entry, and they are carrying on with the investigation. But again, to say that whatever anybody does, whatever the opposition does, as far as we are concerned, the state government is right now in opposition because the governor has no party. So as much as we are concerned, nothing will deter us.
All right.
Nothing will deter us
Charles,
from making...
Yes.
Charles, I'm going to repeat Ayo's question. What does he surmise the motive could possibly be at 3 o'clock in the morning?
What? It's clear. We went to court. APC went to court to challenge the processes that RISIEC had put in place for election dates that we were not aware. And the matter passed through all the processes. All the parties were that were sought to be joined were joined. All the parties that were original defendants, we also joined. And over 3 months, the judge eventually gave judgment. And that judgment is saying that we were right.
So you're saying that this is political in nature?
It is political. It can't be any other thing else. Are you not aware that we are told that they want to do an election today? Today is the 5th of October.
Okay. So apparently, you heard that he's drawing an nexus between the elections going on and the explosion that happened here. That is just the summary of it all.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charles. I'm pretty sure that we're still going to hear more from you about what's happening in Rivers State. Thank you so much, Charles. And please, as Bukola told you earlier, stay safe. Well, Mr. Ugoke, let me come to you in our Abuja studio right now. It's a local government election. Most of the time when we hear such level of caution, of attention, it's usually for governorship or presidential elections. It's the first time I can remember that a local government election is garnering such level of attention. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much, Ayo. I think the issues surrounding the heightened interest and the desperation in this particular local government election is traceable to control of the power, the levers of power in that particular location, Rivers State specifically right now. So what you're seeing is a battle for supremacy between the dynamics of who holds on to the reign of power in Rivers State. And the implication is that no one is thinking about how all of this is impacting on the very lives of the people that these power blocks are claiming to fight for. So if you look at the dynamics going into the election, it has always been about who has control of this particular state. And in that regard, the build-up to the election has been about who would be in control of the local government. And if you look back, you also realize that the circumstances surrounding the end of the tenure of the previous local government chairman and the heightened tension after the end of their tenure and what followed suit, it was almost a given that the build-up to the election would be particularly tense. But in all of these things, it's just basically about the struggle for who holds on to the reign of power and the control of public resources. And the implication is that it's not about the people. It is more about who controls power and the use of power for selfish purposes and not for the service of the people. Basically, that's what I think is going on in Rivers State specifically.
Mr. Oguke, we have been clamoring, well, at least a lot of states were clamoring for local government autonomy. And when it seemed that it had been accepted nationwide, there was jubilation because the local government is the one nearest to the people. So how come there is now local government elections, which the people should be happy about, but it's causing so much tension and so much uncertainty?
Thank you. I think it's also related to my initial comment about who controls the lever of power and access to public resources. So the Supreme Court judgment was clear about financial autonomy for local governments. And that strengthens and grants financial autonomy to that level of governance in Nigeria. And the heightened tension and interest, of course, is that people, if you're a local government chairman and you have access to more resources to do work, ostensibly, if that is the case. But it's also about the way our systems and structures, which in my mind needs to be strengthened further to hold people who manage public resources to account. So if our system is such that the local government chairman, just like the state governor or the president, is the numero uno and basically decides what the resources meant for the people are how it is utilized, without a firm system that holds him to account or her to account, then what we need to focus on is one, yes, we are jubilating about financial autonomy to local government, but there is also a more important issue about the systems, the structures, the institutions that enables accountability for the use of public funds that the local government had, and then also provide a voice for the citizenry, because all of this is down to the citizenry. Governance is about the people and providing services to the people. It is not an end in itself. It's not a self-serving purpose. The purpose is what? For the good of the people. And so that should be the focus, rather. So
just 1 second, Mr. Ogoke, before you continue, I just want to follow up quickly. Could this furore be as a result of that decision? Because the implication of the judgment is any state that does not have legitimately elected local government chairman will not receive resources from the federal allocation. So could that be the reason why there's so much attention? Because it's not just River State. A number of other states have been hurriedly getting into this fray of conducting local government elections.
Oh, of course, that's the incentive for hurriedly conducting local government election, because it is clear that if you don't have a democratic institution, you cannot get access to the money accruing from the federation account. So, and that's why, like I said earlier on, the interest is about the resources. So you have to comply. It's like a compliance issue. You must hold elections. Whether the elections are transparent, credible, or the will of the people is a completely different issue altogether.
Oh dear.
But essentially, it is the interest of getting access to that resources.
Madam Obi, let me ask you, what, I mean, he has spoken about the fact that the people seem to be the underdogs here. It's not certain whether or not this, is giving any attention to the people, really. So, Madam Obi, where do the people fall here in this particular situation? Where do we place the people? What kind of turnout are you expecting? What kind of attention do you think people are giving to this? What's the political, what's the mindset of the people from your experience as an election observer?
I think what has happened so far, it's, the confusion that started from yesterday, or that started, prior to the election, takes us to the fact that, we are not really sure. Some people are not sure whether the election will hold or election will not hold. The confusion about the judgment, because you need to have a straightforward agenda or focus and carry out civic education. What's the role of civic education in this environment? When you are having a local government election, you should be able to mobilize the people totally to go for the election. But what we are having here is confusion to the electorate. We will definitely have a low turnout because of one is that some parties are barring their members for not to participate, and which means if you belong to this party, you won't bother yourself to go out. And if you're a citizen who want to vote and you feel that you want to vote for the other party and not this party, then you won't go out. The sad thing is that the few people that go to the polling unit will then choose whoever emerges. And then we are looking at the electoral umpire that is now in the middle by being caught with a court judgment to say you cannot give you cannot give the registration, the registration list or the register, to the people. But of course, they already have it because it's the register that they use for 2023 election that they are going to use. Also, the fact that there is a deadline, to the governors about releasing the funds from the federation account. And I think the President Tinubu should understand better what it was, how to utilize power at the local government level, because even when he was struggling with Obasanjo, it was a lot in terms of how are you going to go to the net level. He wanted more areas and he went on and created those areas in order to reach the people. Was it to reach the people or to get popular vote? Those are the contentions. So we definitely will have a low voter turnout. But the people lose at the end of the day. I think the local government autonomy is the beginning of more closeness to the people, and the people should get interested. Everybody, whether you are an elite or if you belong to a local government, you need to be interested. Let's go into budget monitoring, look at how much is released, how much is even released by the governor. You know that the interference by government will be limited because of the autonomy. But if the pattern that we have seen in many of the local governments so far, Enugu, for example, almost all the seats went into the to the ruling party in the state, and you find out that that is happening in every state. So what is happening in Rivers is a tussle between the parties, and it's unfortunate that we now have to depend on court when there are simple issues of election which the electoral body should be declaring. We hope that we want to watch what is happening. So far, it's been peaceful from all the places that is being monitored and from what we have. Yeah.
Madam, just one quick question. I wonder if you followed the report from our Charles Oporum about what happened in Rivers overnight at the APC secretariat. If you did see that report, what do you make of it? What do you think? What do you think was the intent of that action?
Okay. Well, I think I think we can take Dr. Theophilus, for now. We'll get back to you, Madam NLB, shortly.
Okay, Dr. Alaye Theophilus is the president of the IJOY Youth Council. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I assume that you are on ground. What exactly is happening where you are now?
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, dear.
We can hear you, Dr. Theophilus.
I think we just lost connection with him. Well, we can just simply go back to Abuja studio, but suffice to say that for now, as we have heard over and over again, elections are ongoing in Rivers State right now. People are accrediting and voting at the same time. So far, it would seem, maybe we'll check online to see what people are saying about it as well. So far, we haven't heard of any skirmishes, thank God. But then we also understand that at the end of the day, we will have results.
We will have results. So if you don't take part, that's on you.
Exactly.
Because the results are going to be announced anyway, whether the person is your person or not.
Because not voting is a vote.
Correct. I understand we now have Dr. Alaye Theophilus back with us. Yes, you were saying. Dr. Theophilus, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you, yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
So as I was saying, with the situation report we've gathered from all the three local government areas, sensitive and not sensitive materials has already been dispersed to all the local polling units, and with look of things, the election is going to be peaceful and everything is going to commence. We haven't seen we haven't gathered any report that there will be any form of crisis. But we are also aware that there are some group of persons that doesn't really want this election to take place. But that we know is not to the benefit of Rivers people. So Rivers youth, those enlightened Rivers people have decided that even though there is no police security, they will provide security for themselves. They will cast their vote. They will protect their vote, and their vote must count at the end of the day. That is just the position of things. And we believe that at the end of the day, we are going to have our chairman and our local government, the councillors of the various wards.
Dr. Theophilus, I wonder if you have heard that there was some attack on the APC secretariat overnight. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Well, so,
yes, I heard some, yes.
Yes. What do you make of it? I mean, you are of the IJOY Youth Council. This would have been done by young people as well, by youth. What do you think was the intent of it?
Yes. You see, some politicians have used unemployment, joblessness as a tool to stagnate and mismanage Nigerian youth. It's not every youth that can think in the right direction. Some youths are still being used as tools to cause mayhem in society. But to the best of our ability, majority of Rivers youth are inclined, they are educated, they are politically educated, they are politically literate. So the minute one, I mean, mind you, some of these youths that are carrying out this mayhem, these unwanted attacks on buildings and all the rest, are also imported. They are not residing here in River State. They are imported just for that particular purpose. So we have to also point out the differences. We are youth leaders, we understand the mechanism in which those that doesn't really want River State to be in good light among a committee of states can do. So those that don't really want this local government election to hold, those that really want the federal government to declare River State state of emergency, we know their antics. But Rivers youth have told them that enough is enough. They are going to participate in this election. They will guide their votes, and their votes are going to count. So with what is happening in all places, we believe that election is going to be peaceful, and we are going to have the immediate outcome at the end of the day.
Ask Mr. Ugoke in our Abuja studio. You've heard from someone who is on ground right now in River State, and we also understand that this is what happened in River State, the party secretariat of one political party. I was trying to say something the other time, and I think it was you that I asked, how come a local government election is garnering this kind of activity, this kind of attention, this level of acrimony? Now, with that said, what are your own expectations? Madam Eneobi has said that she fears that there will be very, very low voter turnout. And with this as a sign, what do you see happening?
Well, thank you, Ayo. It's almost predictable what will happen at the end of the day. That the same pattern probably that happened in other locations, like Ene has rightly said, will probably play out in River State. The election will hold. Hopefully, there will be no violence at the end of the day. But I fear for the dynamics around that. We hope there will be no violence. At the end of the day, you would have council chairmen and councillors emerge, and they will be sworn in. Expectedly, of course, probably there will be the other parties who will mount legal contests to contest the legality and the credibility of the electoral process that through of that. And in all of these things, like I have said earlier on, it is public resources that is expended, the resources that was meant to fund improvement in the lives of the people, provide services, because the whole essence of governance is providing services to the people. So my expectation actually is basically how we can build a system. So maybe because I am a governance and development expert, I focus more on systems that throw up a lot of these things. So there are legal systems, there are political systems, there are the institutions that holds people accountable at the end of the day, whether it is the judiciary system, accountability of the judiciary system, accountability of the political system, accountability of the system for administration, and the system of accountability for actions and the expenditure. I'm happy Ene talked about budget tracking for local governments. And it is important that community-based organizations trade groups within the community, within the local government, are actually alive to their responsibility, their civic responsibility of asking questions. Yes, voices, asking questions about the deployment of the resources meant for them by the people who were elected to superintend over their affairs. They're basically elected to do the bidding, the will of the people, and not the will of a few, essentially. Thank you.
Well, so on the one hand, but then it still begs the question how the people will benefit or not from this. The governor himself also said that maybe this question has also been on my mind, particularly concerning that explosion that happened in the middle of the night. We are aware that even within the political party, the APC, there is acrimony. There is no coherence, so to speak, because we still had that conversation yesterday. The governor is saying that even his own party is not going to participate in this election, and that is making him uncomfortable, that even he himself considers himself a loser in this election. So it would seem like even the political class, the political populace in Rivers State themselves seem to have built up to this particular point, wouldn't you say?
Yes, thanks, Ayo. Of course, we all have been following the political developments in Rivers State over the past 1 year, and we'll probably not be surprised at the turn of events in this local government election by the political gladiators who have all dug into their trenches to make sure that they have control of the levers of power in the state. And so that's what you get. And it's really unfortunate that the situation has come to this, whereby there is complete disarray, even within the political parties themselves, that they are not in sync with one another, and there is complete disagreement on political party supremacy, and even the alignment of their political thoughts as a single political party, as if the entire political structure in Rivers State is completely up in crisis. But in the end, it is the responsibility of these political gladiators to actually think beyond themselves and think more about the people. The incident that happened this morning is also part of the whole system of weaponizing violence to intimidate people. You know, and this is not the first time such a thing is happening. And it is also concerning that has been introduced to the challenge, the political problem in Rivers State. It is very, very deeply concerning and troubling that it has taken this dimension in Rivers State. And that should be a source of huge concern to all the people, all the stakeholders, both within Rivers State and across Nigeria, because it has serious implications if you look back to history, how things like things we think that are isolated like that could have the potential of imploding into something very serious and impacting on the entirety of the nation. So it has to be nipped in the bud, and all the interests, the political gladiators in Rivers State should think twice in what the implication of their actions going forward.
Madam Ene, if, as Mr. Oguwoke has said, it's all about grabbing the reins of power, at the same time, the political parties, even the governor's own political party, is refusing to take part. And if you don't take part, there's no way you can win. So where does that leave them?
Yeah. I think that's what is going to lead to a lot of the apathy, or is it that you think you will lose already before even the beginning? That's why you, even within the political parties, you think people should not go out, and so you're not encouraging your members to go out. What is your strength? You know, we have seen elections in this country that even those who are not on the ballot box, or maybe those who are number 4 or number 5, can take over and become the leaders because of court judgments, when in reality we should be conducting elections. We have also seen that, you know, do you know that election is holding in Akwa Ibom today? Local government election is going on in Akwa Ibom today. We have some colleagues who are on ground there. And nobody is hearing about any acrimony. You know, nobody is hearing about any movement. What is the power tussle? They say when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. We need to refocus on the people. You know, why do you put, where is your interest? Where is your, and this one now is localizing in terms of, is within the states. You need to get yourselves together and put the people of Rivers State first. If you know the kind of, you know, this soot that from gas flaring that is going on there. I remember taking my baby, you know, well, he's not a baby anymore. My son, who is 23 years old. I remember when he was a few months old that I went to ALU, the Leadership and Citizens Training Center, you know, that I went to go and conduct a training for young people there. And my boy was naked most of the time because we couldn't cover any clothes. You know, it was very, very difficult life. And that life is still there today. So there is a lot of impossibility. The people are suffering. And what we want is to bring the governance close to them. Who is talking about the gas flaring? If you look at so many documentaries that are coming out, even as of today, from there, people are suffering. They don't have good water to drink. How are they moving? There is a life expectancy issues, you know, at those levels. So we need the people to get themselves together. We need the people to go out and vote and be counted in the administration of their own affairs and get involved by holding the people, you know, to account. You know, this is very, very important. We are joking with people's lives.
How do we convince people, Madam
maternal mortality?
Madam Ene, just for a second. How do we convince people to go out to vote when all of these issues are as high and rife as they are?
That's the confusion that is going on, that it means the failure of the system is because of the failure of the generation. You know, there is a political class that are playing games amongst themselves and they are endangering the lives of people because we believe in non-violence. And that's why it's so important. Look at how they are even using, you know, the security agencies now. How can you tell the police not to go out and protect people? The police doesn't have a duty. Their duty is not the result of the election, but to make sure that people are protected, that people, you know, go about their business peacefully. Now, the Rivers State people, you know, the citizens have shown you that they can even take things to the election centers without the security. And they are acting normally and they're acting peacefully. You know, so far we haven't had any, you know, yes, we have the issue of the bombing that, or is it the bomb explosion? We don't even, it's not quick, it's better you are not quick to point out at the opposition because within yourselves you are even confused. So who is, you know, who did the bombing? Before you point fingers, you need to search the internal politics that is even going on within them. It's difficult to call on people. There is confusion in the political parties. So what we have is what we are going to get. Those who go out are the ones that are going to be counted.
All right. Well, Dr. Theophilus, I mean, having listened to everything that has been said, and particularly, you know, given that the election is already ongoing, we hear that police has been told not to show up, even though they are still insisting on doing the constitutional job of protecting lives and property in the state. How do we convince people to come out to vote? Madam Ene said there is a likelihood, I mean, speaking from experience as an election observer, there is a likelihood of a very low voter turnout. How do you respond to that? How do we convince people to come out and vote now?
Already, Rivers people have already...
Please go ahead.
Retail at this early stage. This is early time, if we are going to have voters' apathy or not. The turnout is going to be determined because every polling unit, your polling unit is very close to you. It is when materials and ad hoc staff has arrived at the polling unit that people will definitely come out from their rooms. So we can't really tell at this particular point in time if we are going to have voters' apathy in this particular election or not. It is at the end of the day that we will know. Then secondly, the system has already been polarized. Nigerian political system has made it possible that we no longer have ideology in politics. Someone will tell you he's in PDP and at the same time in APC working. So I don't know how two political party manifestos and ideology can correlate to the point that a serving minister is the head of an opposition political party in the state and is in the cabinet of an opposition president. So these are some of the challenges we are having as a people in our young democracy. Until some of these things are corrected, I don't think it will be possible for us to get it right.
But Dr. Theophilus, just 1 second, on that issue that you just raised, it's not the first time we are having opposition in government. You remember the Obasanjo government also had Chief Bola Ige, who was, I think, his minister for power at the time. Chief Bola Ige was in opposition. But
he was in at that particular time he was in opposition, and when he was nominated, he moved to the PDP. He never remained in the opposition.
I don't know. That never happened. Chief Bola Ige was not a member of the PDP before he died.
So that is what we are saying. That ideology, political ideology and manifestos is lacking in our young democracy. And those are some of the conflicts we are experiencing today. Look at the APC. State ESCOs were in existence. And before we know, because of interest, the National ESCO bring out a caretaker. Today, that same caretaker has been pushed aside by a competent court. That the ESCOs tenure have not elapsed and they don't have any reason to be pushed aside. We are now having two APCs operating here in Rivers State. One is partaking in the election, one is boycotting the election. While in the PDP, they said they are not partaking in the local government election. The governor, who is the leader of the party at the level of the PDP, none of his candidates are being positioned at the level of this local government election. But he has made it clear to all and sundry that his interest is Rivers people and not about the political party in which he came on board. In as much as development is getting across to Rivers people, in as much as there are employment opportunities in Rivers State, which he can create as the governor of Rivers State, that he will implement. So his interest has been Rivers people, and that is why you see that despite the fact that his own political party is not partaking in this election, he has made it point and straight that let the local government election commence, so that those at the grassroots level can benefit from the dividends of democracy. Those little projects that the local government can do can also add to the beauty of Rivers State, and that is the essence of democracy. And I believe Rivers people, with their level of understanding, their high level of understanding in politics, they are turning up in their mass, and we believe that at the end of the day, it's going to be successful, and we are going to have the councillors and the chairmen to man and manage the affairs of the grassroots here in Rivers State.
Dr. Theophilus, you have just said that the governor's party is not taking part in this election. There's a faction of the APC that is not taking part in this election. So who are those taking part? And what are your expectations at the end of this exercise?
The election, with what is happening, is going to be free and fair. The Labour Party is partaking in this election. The APC is partaking in this election. ABGA is partaking. APP is partaking. Accord. Almost all the 17 local political parties are partaking, except the PDP that did not fly candidates. So, at the end of the day, at the grassroots level, this is local government chairman and councillorship election. And a councillorship election is more or less like a family election. One community to produce its councillor. So the best is what we are going to have in an election of this scenario, where the major political party that is ruling the state, the PDP, is not partaking. That means definitely we are going to have what we call free, fair, and credible election, because the governor in question is not interested in who becomes the councillor and the chairman.
Correct.
So the people at the grassroots,
Correct.
what level, definitely Yes.
Correct.
Well, another question that may arise from that, Dr. Theophilus, and let me take that to Madam Enobi. Another question that may arise from that is, on the one hand, is the election. On the other hand, is whether or not the people even know the candidates. I'm not even sure what level of political campaigning went into this particular process. So we are talking about having credible elections on the one hand. How about the people that are going to be declared the winners? Do the people know them well enough? Over time, the APC had been prominent, the PDP had been prominent, and if we are listening to what Dr. Theophilus is saying, who is on ground right now, it would seem like a good number of people that are campaigning may or may not be as well known as by their people, particularly because the Constitution and the Electoral Act recognizes the parties and not the individuals.
I think what is going to happen here is...
Go ahead, madam.
Okay. I think what is happening, what is going to happen, you asked from the beginning, what's the most interesting, what is it for you? I think the decision of the governor to go on with the election is the major characteristics of this election. For him wanting to go ahead, now we don't know exactly the people that are going to come on board. It means those who campaigned, it may be the unexpected candidates that will have the election. And it depends on who mobilize their own team, you know, to go ahead and to go to vote. If you don't mobilize your own people to go to the polling units, you know, you are not going to have the election. And so I think it's going to be a very interesting time in terms of the constituents, you know, the constitution of the each of the local governments. What will come, because inter-party, different parties, because what we lack is the ideological, you know, basis in terms of different parties, different constitutions or manifestos, you know, that they have. They need to mobilize, they focus on the people. I think the governor is doing what he should do. And he's not selfish in the contents of why does he want the election when he's not fielding people, when he's not putting candidates. It will be very healthy governance at the end of the day, because everybody will come representing their own people, and we hope that they will be able to control that. The kind of defects that you get to have when somebody is voted on this party and then they move to other, it shows the lack of ideology of the person, that he never believed in themselves. They are going there for their own selfish reasons. And so they are not contained. There are people who remain in the particular political party they have chosen because of their ideology, and they will stick to that. But you have today, people are not sticking to that element. So I want to, on my own, I want to congratulate the governor for wanting to hold the election, you know, for the people, for the sake of the people. And so, because we cannot, Nigeria cannot go on like this, the way it is going. And we hope for a free and fair election. But I'm really disappointed that the security is leaving everybody loose. And we hope that at the end of the day, no life is lost in Rivers State. Like I said earlier, election is going on in Uyo, you know, in Akwa Ibom today. And nobody is hearing anything about you know, the kind of politicization of the election of local governance that is happening.
Well, again, maybe it's just another opportunity for us to keep our eye on that one, because
but let me also say that
yes,
Ayo, let me also say that, you know, yes, this is between 10 o'clock in the morning, for example, just like Theophilus, you know, had said. We are going to, you know, until later in the day. A lot of people are also watching, will people come out without the police and all of that. When they see that the citizens are in control, I think many of them will turn out. So for us to know exactly, you know, the turnout of voters will be, you know, at 2 p.m. when the votes should be closing, and then we'll be able to assess the situation then.
Well, we know you have to go, but before you go, what would be how do we appeal to the people? I'm asking that question again because, I mean, from your experience, as an election observer, these things happen. Now, there are community development associations, there are traditional rulers, and then there are people who just want to protect themselves. There are indigenes, there are those who are neutral, who are not indigenes of Rivers State. How do we appeal to people? Because, as someone has said, not voting is a vote. So what are what do we say to the people now so that they can also be a part of the process? Otherwise, whatever their decision is, they're going to have to live with it for the length of time that those local government chairmen are going to be in office.
I think, I really am looking at the people. I almost ran crazy in Anambra when we went for Anambra election because everybody was saying, I want my party to win, but they were not willing to go out. And we had to overnight turn into, campaigning and asking the citizens to come out, because we were seeing the danger that was going to come out if people don't go out to vote, and so we're turning into the languages, different languages, and sponsoring jingles overnight to ask people to come out. I advise citizens to take control because the highest office in the land is the office of citizens. You need to occupy your land by going out to vote. I think you should go out and cast your vote, else you will not be counted. If you don't go out, you will also be counted because those that are going to lead you in the next 3 years or so, are the people that you have chosen, and it's important for everyone to be on board. Your own participation, your vote is your participation in the election. Getting involved in transparency and accountability of what is allocated to the state and how it is used is your bit.
Okay, you've listened to Madam. What's also interesting to add is that while Akwa Ibom is also having local government elections, Benue State is already having local government elections today. And of course, we know that there are power brokers from these two states as well, Akwa Ibom and Benue State, in the federal government at this time. So, well, Mr. Ugoke, there have been a number of court cases, and it's one of those things that Madam said was interesting to her. We know that at some point Mr. Femi Falana wrote to the IGP that he has asked for a stay of execution on the order that was given by the court that the police should not be a part of the process, and that and he cited a number of instances where that has been done before. So with that on the one hand, then there have also been quite a number of court cases that have spoken to one side or the other, which the governor has quoted, particularly about the political parties. Madam Mene spoke earlier about the role of the judiciary in all of this. But the judiciary doesn't, is not a supermarket. You go to the judiciary, it doesn't just hand it to you. You have to go to the to the courts to get anything. So some people took those cases to court. Is it that those people who took those cases to court didn't know the Electoral Act? What else could the judiciary have done?
Thank you, Ayo. I'm not a legal expert, but I'll just try to explore my understanding of what all of this means, and then link it back to the earlier point I have made about the system that we operate. So I think in law there's what I know about testing out the legal framework of a particular issue. So I think there's a freedom to approach the court, and that's what those people has particularly done, to approach the court for an interpretation of their understanding of the particular legal framework and whether they can get the court to rule in their favor. And so it is then upon the court now to take a decision based on proper legalities or the laws that supports that particular, for instance, we're talking about the electoral law now, And those groups have gone to court for an interpretation of that particular component of the electoral law. So people have the right to approach the court. That's essentially what I'm saying. But in approaching the court, it is then consequent upon the court to take the decision in the overall interest of the law and the population and the citizenry of Nigeria. And that brings me back to the earlier point I made around the system that we operate. So the political system we operate and the judiciary system that we operate, and how we can actually hold those systems to account, and if they are actually complying with the dictates of the law. And that's the key element that defines all of these court interventions. And it's not the first time that we're having multiple court cases and multiple judicial pronouncements in our political space. And it's not going to end soon, except we have a fundamental rethink and reform of the system that we run. And so someone needs to take the bull by the horn and they bag on a judicial reform that reforms the processes for proclaiming some of these justices and how people come about some of these judicial pronouncements. That's very key. And then, of course, the reform of our political system. Because all of this throws up the kind of issues you're having in both Rivers State and potentially what will be the outcome of those election results in Benue State that you mentioned and Akwa Ibom as well. Those are my take.
This matter of leaving the court to decide, we have looked at this many times after our elections, where it is the court that now determines who rules the people. Shouldn't we be moving away from that and ensuring that it is the people who choose their own leaders and not the courts?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part for me, honestly, because we are allowing the judiciary to be determinant of the will of the people, and which should not be. And that's why I kept emphasizing about enforcing and making sure that we have a system that works for the people and not working for the few. Because it's almost as if that the judiciary is no longer the last hope of the common man, but essentially the judiciary is up for sale for those who can basically muster the financial and the legal resources to get through what they want. So we need to focus our attention, and there's an opportunity for us to do that. There have been talk about constitutional amendment, but also even enforcing the existing constitutional provisions that we have. We're not short of laws in the land. We're not short of the right constitutional provisions for all of these things. What we're short of is the system. And apologies again, I am coming back to the systems and structures that we operate. That we must have a system that works, that holds individuals, no matter how powerful they are, accountable for their actions, and not powerful individuals that are running the system. Our system should be able to hold individuals accountable and make sure that it is not those individuals that manipulate the system. What we have right now is basically powerful individuals manipulating the system to the detriment of the overall benefit of the people. And the people are the ones that are actually suffering. Indeed, the people are the ones suffering. Because the excruciating poverty in the land, the lack in the land, is actually the outcome of the decisions of the few.
Okay, well, Mr. Theophilus, beg your pardon, Dr. Theophilus, let me come back to you now in this discussion. From what are the information that you are getting about how the process is ongoing in Rivers State?
Oh, they're waiting for me.
Okay. Can you hear me, Dr. Theophilus?
Can hear you.
Yes. What are the signals you are getting?
Yeah, from our situation room, it is clear that materials, both sensitive and non-sensitive, has been distributed from the local government area to the polling units. And I believe in no distance time, voting is going to commence peacefully in all the polling units, and the results are going to be declared. I believe with the way everything is going, by the grace of God, and with the majority the Rivers people have displayed, we believe that it's going to be free, fair, and peaceful. That is our prayer, and we believe that Rivers people are going to coordinate themselves to get that result at the end of the day.
What's the turnout like? Are people coming out?
already with what we are seeing on the street and everything, people have already mobilized to their various polling units. You know, it is when materials and the ad hoc staff are getting to the polling unit that people will be coming out from their rooms. So when materials get to the polling unit, we believe that people are going to be, with the roads in Rivers State, in Port Harcourt, everywhere quiet, nobody moving, we believe people have, and with the transportation situation, all the hold up we experience, if you go to the riverine area, speedboat moving everywhere, we believe that the level people have mobilized down to their polling units is extremely high, and we believe that the turnout is going to be massive at the end of the day. We believe that.
But because from information that we're even seeing, even on on X right now, it would seem like people, turning out in their various locations right now. Now we also know. So let me come back to you, Mr. Agwoke. We also know that part of the responsibility of the police is for law and order, to ensure law and order, to preserve law and order, whether they are covering the elections or not. And it would seem like right now all of that is ongoing, because we saw some of that information earlier on our screens when our reporter was letting us see what was going on right there, right now. Now, in all of these, what do you make of the process so far from information that is available to us? The police is not really part of the election, or maybe they eventually obeyed the new stay of execution that was published by Mr. Falana. What exactly do you make of it?
Thank you. Again, I think this presents an opportunity for the people of Rivers State to take their destiny into their hands. And like I said earlier on, it is concerning how we throw confusion and manipulate the system to favor different interest groups in the land. Police is paid from public resources, and their responsibility is to provide security for the people. And I think the responsibility of the police still rests on providing security for the good people of Rivers State to go out there and exercise their civic responsibilities. I cannot for certain say that maybe the reason is because of the stay of execution that was sought yesterday, and whether they are complying with that. We saw compliance come in different angles. But for me, primarily, the important thing is that the police has a responsibility of providing protection for the citizens to go about their legal duties and also exercise their civic responsibilities. But it's also an opportunity, like I said, for the people of Rivers State to take this opportunity in their hands to make sure that they elect credible people to pilot the affairs of the government that is closest to them. So it might end up becoming an opportunity for them to have someone that would work in their own interests, essentially.
Okay. Well, Madam Eniobi, so from what we hear, again, elections are ongoing. And I think you said something the other time, that the time, God forbid, that, it's usually sometime in the afternoon that things could go awry. So far, even online, because, elections are going the way they ought to go. People are turning out in whatever the numbers are. Where should we keep our eye to forestall any untoward activity?
Well, I think you and I know that the collation environment, when it reaches the time for collation, that becomes it. But we encourage people to come out, and it depends on the mobilization of the people. Like my colleague has mentioned, it's important to work together to look at the citizens' level. This is a test for Rivers State, for example, because the chief security officer of the state is the governor. And what they have done, in whatever their attitude or their the level of involvement of other stakeholders has done, is to try to shred the governor of his powers in terms of controlling, for the controlling the security apparatus for the benefit of the Rivers people. But we'll go on, let's pray that, they're using the beavers there, they're using all the electioneering processes that they can. Let's hope that they will also, the people will get their votes by ensuring that their votes count, by transmission from the polling units, and also at the end of the day, looking at the collation of the results. Those who are working there, majority of them are from Rivers State. Let them be good citizens of Nigeria by representing their own states, by working for the states and making sure that they deliver. And so it's a collation that is an issue here. But we are watching, like they say, go to court. There was an earlier question that was asked by Alero. We are looking at a system where, we are not questioning the accountability system of the electoral body itself, of INEC, at the different levels. When they tell us to go to court, you can say we are not going to court. You solve my problem now. We don't want anarchy, but the electoral body was giving sufficient funding for the last election that went on, for the general election, for example, and you see the attitude. We are also seeing some of the attitudes, like overvoting, the issues of overvoting, the issues of vote buying. We haven't had any report for issues of vote buying at the polling station unit yet. But just like Theophilus mentioned, maybe because the major political parties are not interested, we can have some sanity at the polling unit level. And I hope that they have their agents, some of them have their agents there. There was the issue of registration, because before you go in for the unit, you are accredited. Many of the big political parties don't have people at that ground. So, we have to look at the provision of money that was given before the election and also follow our money, because if you are telling people to go to court, it means you have not concluded your work. You need to be able to carry out assignment. Money was voted for the work that you are doing, and if you don't conclude it, you have to account. Even if you have concluded it, you need to account for the money that you have given. I think Nigerians, we need to follow the money more. We need to hold INEC and at all levels accountable. The electoral body, now we have an election has been conducted. I think Anambra, Enugu, Rivers is on today, Akwa Ibom. We have Kaduna, Jigawa, Kano that is coming up in October itself. We need to put our eyes there, because the experiences from this will also show in others. But I want to congratulate the media, channels and all the media, for the work that they have been able to do in terms of bringing everything to the fore. And as when I was leading as a convener of the Nigerian Civil Society situation room, it gave me a lot of opportunity. I learned from the media. They are going out there was a security for us as well as their contributions.
Madam, are you suggesting that it is the big political parties that perpetrate all the things we hear about? Because you are saying that they are not there this time, so we have not heard anything thus far.
Well, we are watching. That is, sometimes I think what people are not, we need to look at, developing democracy at the grassroots level, is important. A political party can just win one council. A political party can just win, a couple of councillors. We need to look at that development like it happens in other climes. I think that's what, I'm not accusing any political party, but they, of course, they have been, their quest for power has blinded many of them.
Well, Madam, I'm still going to stay with you, so gentlemen, please permit me. I'm looking at the Electoral Act, and I've tried to even do as much digging as I could using AI. And I'm looking for a place where the Electoral Act says that the police must be a part of the electoral process. I haven't seen. It's what the Constitution said, what the Electoral Act says, is that the INEC has a responsibility to request security protection from security personnel or security agencies Is that correct? Because I'm trying to look at the legality of the police saying they're not going to be a part of the election because of the court order, or that even the court order was legitimate in the first place.
I think what we're looking at, the insecurity in the country, is what generated the issue of having the security agencies very firm on ground. Many elections in the past, you have people who even take the electoral materials and go to their homes and sleep in their homes. In the morning, they just walk to the, the polling units, and they're able to conduct elections, and they bring the results, to the collation center. So the stringent ways we're having now, I think, is mostly because of the insecurity in Nigeria, and realizing, there are some places like what we had in Edo election. You had, drivers were ready with the materials, but they said they were not going anywhere unless they had the police with them. And that is because of the ways that they're being subverted on the road. So that is happening. So there is not really, I think what they are doing here, they are demystifying.
But let's quickly go to Deborah Balama, correspondent in Rivers State, covering that election. Deborah, where are you and how far so far? Oh dear. Well, I understand that network is not cooperating right now, but we will definitely get that back. What is cheering? What's gladdening one's heart right now is that we aren't hearing, and we hope never to hear, of any untoward activity at this time. But Dr. Theophilus, so here we are, and we hear that everything seems to be going the way it ought to go.
Touch wood.
What are your expectations? Now, I am still a little concerned that not everyone who should come out would come out. Historically, local government elections do not usually garner as much activity, as much voter turnout as other elections, state governorship elections, parliamentary elections, and presidential elections. But what are your expectations this time around? Will this be different?
Basically, with the level at which the interest is increasing, we definitely believe that this particular election is going to be different. Then secondly, the reason why we believe that local government elections are not to be like state governorship and presidential election is that it's a brotherly contest. A councillor, a ward is made up of maybe two communities, like some words are just one community. So there is a brotherly contest. So why should we go and kill ourselves? We are not selling an outsider. Those that are contesting for these councillorship positions are already known people. They are from our communities. It's not like you are suddenly an Igbo man to me, which I need to scrutinize his character and his behavior. These are people that we already lived with for a period of time. So we already understand how they live. So that is why you see that some of these elections, we don't really take it serious. But notwithstanding, because of the Supreme Court judgment in respect to resources that is supposed to get to the local government, some persons that doesn't want these resources to get to the local government want to, by all means, make sure that this election does not hold. And we begin to ask, you are also from this state, irrespective of your political position or your political divide. The interest of your people has to be your priority interest. But if these local government funds are being withheld at the level of the federal government, of what benefit is it to you? Or you prefer your people, you prefer seeing your people suffer? So we understand that the governor has already taken the position, irrespective of the position of his political party, that Rivers people is his priority. And with what is going on, The election is going to be peaceful. People are going to conduct it. They are already conducting themselves. By 2 o'clock, we believe how the turnout is going to look like. Voters' apathy is something that we always experience in electioneering elections where the tension was extremely high. You know, the atmosphere was really charged just because some people never wanted this election to hold. So voter apathy, at the end of the day, we might see how it goes. But with the look of things, Rivers is one state that has never been conquered by federal minds. The people, their level of political understanding is 1 to none. We believe that at the end of the day, we'll see how it will go. And the reason why previous elections has not been this tense is because local government elections are being managed by RISEC, the State Independent Electoral Commission, and they always understand. Even the participating parties, some of them does not even have the needed resources.
All right.
To even tour around the entire communities.
Okay.
So well, that's how it has always been.
Yes, let's get some feedback from our correspondent who is on ground and to give us some updates. Deborah, please go ahead. Where are you right now and how far so far? Deborah, are you there? Okay. We'll certainly get that back. Okay, well. Deborah, go ahead. We can see you, we can hear you, Deborah. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is actually Ward 1, Unit 18, somewhere off Aba Road, and voting is going on here from what can be captured on the camera. People are voting peacefully. There is actually no security presence as well. Most of the polling units that we visited, we did not see a single presence of the police in those places. However, we noticed that we took a drive from Rumola. Anyone that knows Port Harcourt will know what I'm talking about. The distance is quite far from Rumola down to Rume Precom, and not a single polling unit was noticed. And the feelers we got from the resident there is that it's Ward 9, and that is the ward where the FCT minister is from. And they said there is no election that's going to happen there. So we noticed there are places we even saw people clustered. People were just clustered in some of the places, and elections not going on in those areas from Rumola down to Rume Precom of Obiakpo local government area. But in Falga, from what we've seen, election is going on very well in Falga, and people are voting. There's a little delay in some places. Some places you will find people gathered and waiting for electoral materials to arrive. We got here, somebody actually raised a complaint about result sheets not being available here. One of the candidates' representative, I think from one of the parties here. But from what we can see from this unit here, there are about 3 other polling units around here, and election is going on in Falga areas that we visited so far.
Well, the implication of elections not holding in those areas, Deborah, would be that there will be no results declared at those places where there are no elections. Isn't that the case?
That would certainly be the case, you know, because I don't know how there would be results emanating from places where elections didn't hold, but we would watch out for that, because from what I saw, it would be very strange to take such a long drive and there were no polling units noticed around those places.
Okay.
However, Falga seems to be actively conducting the elections. I mean, places I've gone to so far in Falga, elections are going on.
Okay. Well, how about the turnout? That's been a concern that's been raised, you know, by panelists in the studio. What's the turnout like? There's been fears that because of all this noise about whatever is going on, that people are not going to turn out. From your observations in where the elections are active, what's the turnout like?
Okay, the places where election is going on, people are turning up for the election. The places where elections actively is going on, like areas I visited in Falga, the Port Harcourt City local government, Ward 19, this is Ward 1, Ward 18, elections are going on in the places I went to, and there is actually turnout of voters. But in the areas where election does not seem to be happening, we just find people on the street playing or clustered and gisting, playing football. That's what is actually noticed here.
Yes. Did you find out why elections were not taking place in those places?
When I spoke to some of the residents, they told me that they did not see any electoral materials or election officials because of the judgment, the order that came from the High Court in Abuja, you know, and that they are following the FCT minister's order that there will not be an election in Obiakpo Ward 9. That's what some of the residents who spoke to me said, you know, quoting them. You know, so that's what they said. But I'm going to be speaking with the RESEC management to find out what's going on and why elections didn't happen in those areas. So until I get their feedback, I will not really know what categorically to say is the reason elections is not going on in Ward 9 as the residents have said to me.
But on the whole, everything is going on where it is taking place and everything is peaceful.
Yeah, they are really quite coordinated in the places where elections are happening. I haven't found a single place where there was rancor or disturbances. People are voting quietly, party agents are around, you know. Everywhere seems peaceful, very peaceful.
Right.
Well, I'm sure we will hear more from you, Deborah, because one of the things that has been insinuated in the studio is, okay, so if there are no policemen, and the election is this peaceful and everything is orderly, then what's going on here? But we'll talk to you subsequently when you have other reports for us. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Well, just to add a little life to what you just said about the people coordinating themselves. Earlier on, I spoke live with some of the voters in a place where they had about 4 polling units. And they told me that they already heard on radio that the police had said they were absconding, they were not going to be involved in the election, as well as the DSS. So amongst themselves, they coordinated to be the ones to provide security for themselves. In a particular polling unit, I noticed some people carrying canes in their hands, and they say those people were like the local security. They are going to, anyone that tries to cause problem will perhaps get some strokes, maybe.
Well, I didn't see that coming. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much, Deborah, for your reporting. Well, Mr. Ugoke,
thank you.
You've heard that.
You so much.
What do you make of it?
That's actually very interesting, and it tells you the strength of our character, first of all, and the strength of politics and democracy. So the whole essence of democracy is the freedom to choose. And the people have decided that with or without security, they are going to come out to choose their local government chairmen and councillors. And that's very instructive for us. Rivers could actually turn out to become an experiment in our democracy, where we are transitioning to how actually elections are held and not in any way dominated by security forces, as we have seen previously. So I think it's a good development that the people are coming out to demonstrate their commitment for their civic responsibilities. I think that's an interesting one. We will continue to monitor the situation, like she has said, your correspondent has said, on what happens when we get later into the day towards collection of votes. I also hope and pray that external forces do not come to cause chaos and mayhem from outside the state. But for now, I think it's interesting and encouraging the way the people of Rivers State have conducted themselves. And it's actually a very good opportunity to demonstrate that, yes, we can take our destinies into our hands and decide our future.
Well, Dr. Theophilus, is this what you meant when you said that the people have organized themselves?
Enlightened group of people. I told you earlier that they have already made up their mind that with or without the security, they are going to conduct themselves to make sure that these elections comes out peacefully and successfully. And that is what the people of Rivers State have decided. And at the end of the day, we are going to see more of this. And at the end of the day, we expect those that were expecting that it won't happen like that to give kudos to Rivers people. And in most scenarios,
Dr. Theophilus, just 1 second. My sincere apologies, Dr. Theophilus. What I didn't see coming is canes to flog anybody that tried any nonsense, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, that is what I'm saying. That we weren't expecting, people were not expecting this kind of turnout. But the turn up, the people are comporting and conducting themselves. So what we are saying is that this is going to serve as a litmus test. Most of our presidential and state governorship elections, the reason why we have been asking for the security is majorly because of ballot paper snatching. You know, after the state or the federal government spending a lot of money, you will see some group of miscreants coming to snatch away ballot paper, and those polling units and wards won't be having results. But today is a brotherly contest. The two councillors that are contesting, 2, 3, 4, 5, 17 councillors that are contesting in a particular ward, they might be even brothers and sisters. They might be cousins. So the contest will not be that of fierce kind of contest where people are going to kill themselves. So this is one of the peaceful elections that we are going to have. And we also understand that security agencies has also been the problem we have been having, where they are bait, give coverage to those that want to come and disrupt elections. So today, without the security, Rivers people want to tell the world and the international community that even without security, they can comport themselves to carry out the election. So maybe subsequent election, maybe state governors and presidential election, we might even write to INEC that they shouldn't send the police and the security, the military. We will comport ourselves and we will be able to make our elections peaceful, and the people will speak. Yeah. Nobody is coming to intimidate anybody in this election because it's a brotherly contest. But the security, to some extent, let us be sincere and be sincere to ourselves, has been part of the problem. Trying to take directive from people, trying to even subvert people's mandate. We saw what happened between 2015 election when Dakuku Peter Side and Nyeso Wike was contesting the governorship election here in Rivers State, where we had a director of SAS going around all the local governments to see how he can compel the INEC officials, the returning officers, to subvert results. So sometimes even the security personnel are our problem. And the Rivers people have said, this is the position. It is our democratic right to go out and vote. And not coming to vote or not allowing this election to end, we are the people that are going to suffer because our location is going to be withheld. And who are the people? The masses are going to suffer. So they have decided that instead of the masses to suffer, instead of us not to have employment, appointment, payment, and empowerment at the local government level, we have to sacrifice our life and come out to vote. That is what we are saying. Some places we believe the voting materials, the non-sensitive materials have not gotten to, based on the terrain. But I know very well with the situation report we are getting from our situation room that in every unit, everywhere, this election is going to be conducted peacefully and the results are going to be announced at the end of the day.
Dr. Theophilus, if you listened to our correspondent in Port Harcourt, she just said that she went to certain areas and elections were not taking place.
Those are places that, as we speak, based on the terrain, maybe the disbursement of those materials, the sensitive and the non-sensitive materials have not gotten to those places. I'm from this area. In even presidential and governorship elections, sometimes before material will get to some polling unit, it's 4 p.m. Some places, 5 p.m. And that is why you see that most of the times in those areas, for us to announce the result, it's going to be in the next morning. So local government election cannot also be different. It's the same terrain.
But it's interesting, Dr. Theophilus, that she drove through that particular route to where she got to report that there are activities ongoing, political activities, election activities actually, ongoing. She left a place where the elections were ongoing, drove through a long path, as she said, that some things were not happening, and arrived at another place, and the elections are holding. So that's the basis of Alero's question.
Yes, so what we will now ask is it in the same local government area?
You can have a neighboring communities adjacent, but one, the local government headquarters where the materials are coming from is different.
Okay.
Then the other one, the local government materials are just close to the communities. So it all depends on the local government or the particular place where this sensitive and not sensitive material and the other staffs are taking these things to. We are aware of it. Even if you go to Bayelsa, it's the same. You come to River State here, it's the same. So it all depends on the particular local government headquarters that these sensitive and not sensitive materials are being dispersed to that particular polling unit. Okay. I assure you, an election is going to take place in all the polling units, and all councillors are going to be voted. Okay. There will be no writing of results. This is the first election of this magnitude where the police is not involving itself. The people are providing security for themselves. And it's going to be very, very peaceful, and it's going to be quite different. Okay. At the end of the day, we will get the results.
Doctor, from your situation room, have you got any report about the riverine areas? What's the situation like in those areas?
Like the Calabari axis, the Boni axis, materials, as I told you, materials has already been dispersed. Even in the Andoni axis, materials has been, even Ogoni, materials has been dispersed to all polling units. So at the end of the day, believe you me, there are going to be elections. Observers are going to also give their reports. This is going to be one of the peaceful elections that River State have ever had, because there are no police to guide some people to carry out snatching of ballot papers here in River State at this point in time. So the riverine communities, all the local government areas that the young people cover, and the organizations and other youth organizations, the report we are having is very, very okay. That's elections are going on, accreditation in some areas have already started, and voting is about to commence in some other places. Okay. So we believe that everything is going on simultaneously well. All
right. Madam Eneobi, you've listened to our reporter and you've also listened to everyone else comment on it. Particularly the part where she said she drove through a route where voting was happening before, voting was happening after, but this particular place that she stopped, no elections whatsoever, people were just in clusters. What do you make of that?
You know, from the reporter's side, was talking about the ward where the FCT Prime Minister, that's where Wike comes from, that in that particular place, they say they are obeying the court order. So there are two things that can be responsible for that. Either the electoral materials or the electoral officers or polling unit officers went there and they were chased out. It will, the reports will come out at the end of the day, you know, or, you know, materials have not reached, just like was said by Theophilus. So we wait and see what happens, whether elections are not conducted there. Will election results be declared? Election results will not be declared from polling units that voting did not was not carried out. But the danger is that it depends on the wards, you know, the population of the polling units in a particular ward that election is not conducted. Because if elections are conducted in some polling units within those wards, what it will mean is that elections results will come out from those wards, and some wards it will not come out. Is this significant to declare results for the whole ward or not? Will be the responsibility of the electoral officers, and then that will come out. But I think it may be too early to tell, but it's exciting to hear how citizens are conducting themselves, and this is in a normal climate. That is what happens. You don't need any police standing over you or security agencies standing over you. The responsibility of conducting election is in the election, is in the electoral, on the electoral body. It's not for the security, because it's really expensive. When we have to bring in the security, we'll bring in tons of security, different security agencies to be involved in order for citizens to behave themselves. The good thing here is that these are citizens of River State. If anybody comes and snatch a ballot box, it will be a citizen of River State, or not ballots or the machines and so on and so forth. And so these are your citizens. Citizens need to respect themselves. conduct themselves with morality, with good morals, you know, good value. They are showing the way here. And that's what I say again, that political parties, you don't have to occupy the state as a governor before you claim the power at the local levels. And you can do a lot of things for your own people within the things that, you know, with your councillors and also local government chairman and so on.
It's very interesting.
So let's go back to the basis.
Yeah. I'm actually excited about the fact you talked about earlier, Madam, when you said that there was a time in this country when there were no policemen during elections. You actually collected your ballot paper, you took it home. Well, I'm looking forward to those days coming back. Thank you so much.
No, not ballot paper. Not ballot paper. I was talking about I was talking about the electoral officers.
Oh, okay.
You know, polling unit officers carrying their material, collecting it from INEC. They go home and sleep with it, and then they work in the morning, because normally they will appoint, you know, people who are from the environment.
Okay.
And so they give them the material so they don't have to transport. And then they move in and then they come back and submit the...
I'm waiting for those days to come back. I'm waiting for those days to come back, Madam. Thank you so much for your time this morning. NLB is a former country director of ActionAid Nigeria, as well as Ifeanyi Ugwoke, who is a governance and development expert. We've also had Dr. Alaye Theophilus, President, Ijaw Youth Council. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us around.
Yeah. Now, with our eyes still squarely on the Rivers local government elections, and we also hear, as we've been told, you have also been told that Akwa Ibom is having its local government elections, as well as Benue State as well. And as we've also been informed, a good number of them are still going to have local government elections this month. All eyes on local governments. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, there is more.